So I saw a very interesting story that's kind of like very popular, particularly within the space of inherited church ministries, but it's not very popular like with like people that are not family. And as you can see in the title, we're talking about the son of Oyedepo resigning. Now, if you don't know him, this is him here. His name is Isaac. Very popular. There was a lot of trends that actually did come around him. I remember one particularly where he was talking about money. It was just a very weird teaching. And so personally, I've not listened to him that much. When I would listen to him, I'd always just keep forgetting him. I'm listening to a preacher, and then I'll just go thinking. So I haven't really heard much from him. I've just always just never liked his style of preaching or anything like that. And so I wanted to talk about that, particularly within the space where when pastors want to leave a church, they are hustled. Like I wanted to talk about this particular story, particularly from that direction. Is there a reality show with the daily Christian commentary videos? If it's the first time over here, be sure to check out the other videos that are down in the pinned comments, and I will see you when you get over there. Don't forget to check us on the Facebook page. We do post some content over there that's not over here, and so there's that. So this story, when I looked at it a little earlier on, you can see that's him. That's Oyedepo right there. That's the son. When you actually scroll up, it's Justin. This just happened. Okay, 25th. Son resigns from Winners Chapel to begin his own ministry. This part right here. To begin his own ministry, details emerge. Now, I did actually see that they kind of, but Legit.ng, they did kind of like show what actually confirms this particular thing in their article. If you actually read down a little bit, it says that this development confirmed by Church Gist, a media platform posted belonging to Pastor Lecky, okay? And they say he signed him there, who is a long-term pastoral assistant at the Living Faith headquarters. Okay, now that is actually Winners Chapel. So Living Faith, I guess that's the big name. Winners Chapel is the big name that they know, and things. So one of the pastors that is actually assistant over there is one of the people that actually confirmed, right? Now, the part that also caught my attention on this one is like the headline itself. It says there, when you check, it says he's leaving Winners Chapel to begin his own ministry. And so, if you brought this particular subject to a lot of churches, this would fall on its face. A lot of churches do not even allow you daring to think of ever coming to a position where you're pastoring your own church, let alone a congregation, apart from their approval. God forbid you thought you could go preach somewhere where they didn't like, or one particular church that they did not approve of. You will get in trouble. They will give you flack for that. Okay, they will not let you rest over that. Now, some time ago, I remember, I think about 2012 or so, there was this story that once trended about Oyedepo. I thought it was just a very weird story, and there was this story right here when about 200 pastors resigned from them. Okay, it says that this was the article actually says this particular one that I'm reading from Linda Ikeja. All right, and I'm getting a little bit there so you can get a little bit of view into the article. Just a little bit out. All right. It says that 200 pastors secretly resigned a message from the Winners Chapel in the late of thingy. So this is a while ago, but the story is what kind of fascinated me. Following a disagreement they had with the General Overseer, Bishop Oyedepo, over the resignation or over the reorganization of the church. Now, this particular reorganization, after the general meeting in December, some pastors said that they were no longer comfortable with the founder's leadership style and some new rules he implemented. Oyedepo was said to have told the pastors that anyone who wanted to leave the ministry was free to do so without any drama. So secretly leave, and according to the article, secretly resign they did. And he says, a few weeks later, 200 pastors tended to their resignation letters. Okay, they pretty much left. And some of the pastors resigned to join other ministries. Some started their own, and others to start their own churches. And Oyedepo was said to have given all of them parting gifts, and he stated the amounts that were put there, depending on how long they have been with the church. The resignation is supposed to have been a hush hush. So basically, keep it silent. Don't say you read it here. So it was said, this particular story was said to have been something that happened and it wasn't meant to come out. Okay, when these pastors had a disagreement with the restructuring. Now you'll remember that there was actually even a period where people had a problem with these pastors who had churches, and then their sons take senior positions in churches they didn't start. And these were some of the issues that came up here. Now, I don't know if this was the same situation in this particular case here, but I know that this has been an issue where a particular son, and you'll remember this became a very big deal when there was that whole situation when Oyedepo actually spoke about pastors who he sacked. You'll remember that story. When that story came out and he had fired people, he mentioned that some of these pastors, they were not willing to do anything. And he actually spoke about, he said that some of them didn't make business sense. You know, the way he put it. He said it didn't make business sense keeping them because financially they were a loss. And you know, in a lot of ministries, we've spoken about this. Some churches literally have very few people that are actually in working condition. And also, if you are in a village area, you don't have that much of a thing. You are very limited to how many people can actually come to those churches and stuff. Yes, I know that they tend to pack the city. They will have like a church every single 3 blocks or something like that. But at that stage also, where are you expecting that people are actually going to go? The church next to them, when there is another winner chapel over there. Like I remember looking at a map. I think it was in Zambia when we did the ECG Zambia video when that pastor left. We spoke about the region in which that church was, and there was like 6 churches within like a 3 blocks space and stuff on the GPS. Not even talking about off thing. Churches that we could actually see, and there was even churches that were actually same churches, but just different branches, just like occupying things. So, in situations like that, you have pastors in such situations, and they have been told you are not performing. So a pastor is not performing, and those are the questions we were asking: is it not God that brings people to fellowship with one pastor or the other? And unlike that situation, I think that situation they were just kicked out. And some pastors were complaining that they didn't have nothing. Now, in the 200 pastors post, you can see they say that those pastors were dismissed by thinking. Maybe it's because they were in a group. I don't know. They were dismissed with a package, and so they went off, and it never came out. It was just kind of like a silent story or something like that. My interest with the story is that again, right? My interest in the story. You'll remember that Oyedepo himself was seen in an exposure post that actually came out not long ago. I think it was 2021 when there were papers, Pandora papers that were released, and it was said that people have shell companies overseas, and I think he was one of them. So I found that quite interesting that a pastor was found on that thing, is known to deal with people outside his family a certain way, but then with his children, he deals with them a certain way, given very good positions and so forth. They don't have to start churches. They just kind of go over and take over thingy. And then one of the sons actually comes and branches off from thinking and says he's going to start his own ministry. This is where it raises my question. In these other pastors' churches, where if a person was to say that, he's not saying that his church, his father's church is not called, or his father's church is not of God. No, he's saying that he has a call, but to establish that, he has to separate himself and go to a different church. Right? That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. Now, what I find interesting about that is some people, there can be a lot of conversations that come out from this. Some people might take that to say, no, there's issues when it comes to who's going to be, who is the one who's going to take over the church after the father passes. There may be those particular conversations that other people might have. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying that when a pastor, like Pastor Oyedepo has his son leaving the church because he has a calling and he feels he needs to go his own direction, what's to say is not going to happen in your church? Because a lot of pastors, they get very pissed off when pastors leave their church. They then immediately assume that they're trying to take their church members. Okay? But even at that, because I did hear someone talking about, I think, how he received his calling or something like that. I did see someone highlighting that particular part. Yeah, I think it's about right here, where they say that there was another thing of how he illustrated how he received his calling and so forth. And so there's an interview, I guess, out there where he actually talks about how he received his calling. So it kind of dismisses that question where people were saying, is it not just that he is a pastor because his father was a pastor? You know, reminding that pastoral work is not necessarily lineage work. Okay, it's not a business. You can just come in and take it over. But that has been the case. So maybe here in this case, he was told, no, that's not the case. That's not what's going to happen. It's another pastor who's going to head the church. Maybe that's the reason. He thought, let me go start myself and do my own thing. But at the same time, I'm not saying this because I'm just raising everything that might come out, or all the other thinking that might come out, that other people might have, and so forth. The thing for me, what resonates on this particular story is one story. It was one part. The part where he's leaving his own father's church. So these churches where pastors are restricted, should they even flinch to turn around and look the other way? Not that they have left, they just turning around, the art of turning around and just looking back. It is literally becomes war. The pastor goes to war. He curses the church. He curses the church where that person is going. He curses the members there whom he doesn't even know, and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't it tell you something? I thought it was quite interesting when you've seen all the videos which we've done where pastors, certain people, certain so-called prophets have claimed to be called of God, but then you see them fighting people who want to leave their churches. I thought this one was quite interesting, that this is his own father's church. Y'all tell me what you think. It's Ricky. It's a reality show. I thought that was quite an interesting one for us to have a conversation about and to think about. And also for those pastors that are in funny, dodgy churches where you want to go from that church. They will not release and they keep telling you other stories. This story, what does that mean for you? It's Ricky. I'll hear from you.